Okay, now let's talk about the components that make up virality. So first of all, just remember that referrals don't happen by accident. As Jonah Berger says, virality isn't luck. It's not magic. It's not random. There's a science behind why people talk and share, a recipe, a formula even. So what's the formula? There it is. That's the formula. But we'll come back to this. Don't be scared. It's not that bad. Viral growth is determined by two variables. The first is your viral coefficient, and the second is your viral cycle time. The viral coefficient, known as the K factor, tells you the number of new users each user you acquire will successfully bring in through a referral. So, for example, if in one viral cycle each new user will generate 1.5 additional new users, it might look a little bit like this. You acquire one new user, they send out 3 invites, you have a 50% acceptance rate on those invites sent, and boom, now you've got 1.5 new users who will start the cycle all over again. Viral cycle time is the length of time it takes to go through one of those cycles. So if we take this example again, that is this section of time. And maybe that happens in one day, maybe it happens in 1 week, maybe it happens in 1 month. But the shorter that is, the faster you're going to grow. A lot is actually happening in that time. First, the user is triggered to share. They go through the process of sharing. Maybe that's sending an email or something like that. Their friends receive those invites, and then they decide whether they want to use the product or not. And the loop starts over. If you can shorten this and make these steps more streamlined, your viral cycle time will decrease. Both viral coefficient and viral cycle time are key levers for viral growth. The bigger your K, the faster you'll grow. So for a given cohort, if K is between 0 and 1, the rate of viral acquisition will steadily decrease until it stops. And if it's greater than 1, then the rate of viral acquisition will continue to increase. That's when you've gone viral, just like in this graph here. But let's take a closer look with a spreadsheet. So in this spreadsheet, I've modeled out some viral growth. There's a lot here, but for now, let's focus on the viral coefficient, your K factor. As I mentioned, if you have a K factor that is between 0 and 1, then your growth rate from this cohort is going to slowly decrease until it gets to 0. So that's what you're seeing here. And you can also see it in this graph here where your total user growth is flattening out and your new user growth is also flattening out. However, if our viral coefficient is something like, say, 2, you have a very different looking graph where your total users is going up all the time and your rate of new user acquisition is going up all the time. So instead of getting smaller, this is getting bigger. If you're wondering why that would be, that's just because of how the math works out. As we go through more cycles, this 2 is basically being multiplied over itself. And as you probably remember from math class, if a number is greater than 1 and it's multiplied by itself, it's going to get bigger and bigger. But if it's smaller than 1, it's going to get smaller and smaller. But before you get too excited, it's pretty unlikely that you'll go viral. So Raul Vohra, founder of Reportive, says, "True viral growth is very rare. For a consumer internet product, a sustainable viral factor of 0.15 to 0.25 is good, 0.4 is great, and around 0.7 is outstanding." So it's unlikely you're going to have that explosive greater than 1 viral factor, but it's still going to be really meaningful if you get that K factor to be larger. And the reason for that is because your other marketing channels will be amplified. Even with a K of between 0 and 1, small increases in K can cause very large increases in how much they're amplified. Let's take a look and see how that plays out. So with a viral coefficient of, let's say, 0.15, which he mentioned was a good K factor, you can see that we start off with 150 new users, and that gradually decreases until we aren't getting any more new users. But ultimately, our amplification factor on the 1,000 users in our initial cohort is 1.17. 1,000 times 1.17 is exactly what we end up with. But if we were to put in some effort to increase our K factor, and let's say we get it to the semi-good level, 0.5, suddenly our amplification factor is 2. If we were to go to 0.75, now it's 4. So even by just getting this viral coefficient up, and definitely not even coming close to getting it over 1, our acquisition channels are amplified to a great degree, which is going to help a lot. Cycle time dictates how fast that K value is going to work its magic. So Adam Nash, VP of Product at Dropbox, puts it this way: the key to understanding viral math is to remember a basic truth about rabbits. Rabbits don't have a lot of rabbits because they have big litters. Rabbits have a lot of rabbits because they breed frequently. Interesting. So if you want to have a product that grows really, really fast, it's important to shorten that viral cycle time as much as possible. If you have a non-viral K value between 0 and 1, that's going to affect the speed at which you'll cash in on that amplification factor that I just showed you. And if you have a viral K, one that's greater than 1, going through more cycles is going to immensely impact your growth. Let's go back to the spreadsheet and see how that works. Okay, so here again we have our non-viral K value, and we have right now a cycle time in months of once per month. So as 1 month goes by, 1 cycle completes. But what would happen if we were to make it so that 1 cycle happened in 1 week? So a quarter of 1 month, 0.25. Suddenly, instead of hitting our amplification factor by about month 12, we hit it much faster by like month 6. So we're cashing in on that amplification factor much quicker, and that's going to help us grow faster. If we go back to a cycle time of 1 month and we happen to have a viral coefficient of, say, 1.5, that's a viral level, then what happens if we change our cycle time? So you'll notice that we have 12 cycles complete by month 12, and we have 400,000 users here. But if we, let's say that we were just to put that cycle time in half, suddenly we have 50 million users. Pretty insane how big of a difference that is. And that's because now we have 24 cycles complete by month 12 instead of only having 12, which now is at month 6. So just like rabbits, as you can see, viral cycle time is really, really important. So some other things to think about as you're modeling out your viral growth: you should also account for user churn. Of course, one thing that was not factored in those graphs I was showing you is that some users will churn over time. And also think about market saturation. So of course, you can't grow infinitely because essentially you're going to hit the bounds of the size of your market. And when people start to invite their friends, they'll find that their friends already have the product. Okay, let's recap. Referrals don't happen by accident. There is literally a formula, and we'll talk more about it in the next lecture. Your viral growth is determined by your viral coefficient, or the average number of invites that every user will bring in. The bigger the better. And your viral cycle time, how long it takes for a viral cycle to complete, the smaller the better. And you're unlikely to go viral, but increasing K will help amplify your other marketing channels and help you grow faster.